Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Monday, November 23, 2020. Al Jazeera report. Biden announces first cabinet posts of administration. President-elect Joe Biden has released an array of nominees to head foreign policy and national security agencies under his incoming administration. The nominees on Monday included Antony Blinken for Secretary of State, Alejandro Mayorkas to be Secretary of Homeland Security, Avril Haines for Director of National Intelligence, Jake Sullivan for National Security Advisor, Linda Thomas Greenfield for U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, and former Secretary of State John Kerry to be the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate.
CNN report. The surprising reason why Apple was so gung-ho about its 5G iPhone. Verizon and Apple are teaming up on another sales pitch for the 5G iPhone 12, and this time, they're aiming at business customers. The two companies held an event Thursday to showcase several ways businesses could benefit by using the iPhone 12 with 5G. 5G has higher bandwidth than existing networks, making it possible to have many more wireless devices performing data-intensive activities, like video streaming, in one small area such as a factory floor.
CNN report. Israeli minister says Netanyahu met Saudi crown prince, but Riyadh denies it. An Israeli government official said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held his first-ever known meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Sunday, but the claim was swiftly denied by Riyadh's top diplomat. Speaking on Israel's army radio on Monday, Education Minister Yoav Gallant called the covert meeting, which reportedly took place in the Saudi city of Neom, an incredible achievement, and congratulated Netanyahu.
BBC report. Qatar identifies parents of baby abandoned at Doha airport. A woman from an Asian country fled abroad after dumping the infant, public prosecutors said, adding that efforts were underway to extradite her. A DNA test confirmed that an Asian man was the father, they added. The prosecutors said officials had also been charged over the invasive exams carried out on women passengers during the initial search for the mother. There was international outrage after a group of women flying to Sydney, including citizens of Australia, the UK and New Zealand, complained that they were checked for evidence that they had recently given birth.
Deutsche Welle report. Turkey slams unauthorized German search of Libya-bound ship. A diplomatic spat erupted between Turkey and Germany on Monday after Ankara accused German troops of carrying out a search of a freighter as part of the EU's Irini mission to enforce the UN's Libya arms embargo. The Turkish Foreign Ministry said it had summoned the envoys to Ankara of Germany, the EU and Italy to protest the unauthorized operation. We protest this action, which was conducted without authority and with the use of force, the ministry said.
Fox report. Britain to introduce coronavirus three-tier regional system as England prepares to exit lockdown. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a new tier system to categorise areas around the country as his government continues to plan its next steps in combating the coronavirus pandemic. Johnson announced his new system during a conference call into the House of Commons, explaining the system to ministers in attendance. The system includes 3 tiers, and it will go into effect when England exits its lockdown on deck.
Fox report. Americans' perception of rising crime at highest levels since 1993, poll says. A recent Gallup poll showed that Americans' perception of crime as having increased from the previous year is at its highest level since 1993, while actual crime statistics for the first half of 2020 offer a mixed message. The poll, released November 13, showed that about 78% of Americans believe crime has increased from last year. However, fewer than 40% perceived crime in their own area as having increased.
Fox report. Californians, rightfully, angry over the state's new coronavirus restrictions, San Diego mayor. Californians are, rightfully, angry over the state's new coronavirus restrictions, San Diego's Republican Mayor Kevin Faulconer told America's Newsroom on Monday. Faulconer made the comments following weekend protests in California over the curfew that went into effect on Saturday for the majority of the state. Videos and photos posted on social media late Saturday showed a strong turnout for what was billed as a curfew breakers protest against Gov.
BBC report. Ethiopia's Tigre crisis. Debretsion Gebremichael vows to fight on. Debretsion Gebremichael denied federal government claims that the regional capital, Mekelle, was surrounded. Hundreds have reportedly been killed and tens of thousands have fled in nearly 3 weeks of fighting. The UN has warned it could trigger a humanitarian crisis. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Sunday announced a 72-hour deadline for the region's fighters to surrender, and the army warned Mekelle's 500,000 residents that soldiers would encircle the city and attack it.
Deutsche Welle report. Russia fines Pussy Riot activists for hanging pride flags on Putin's birthday. Moscow courts on Monday handed down fines to Maria Alyokina and Veronika Nikolshina from the feminist protest group and performance art group Pussy Riot for hanging pride flags on Russian government buildings on October 7, the 68th birthday of President Vladimir Putin. The Interfax news agency reported that Alyokina was fined 15,000 rubles, about €166, $196, while Nikolshina was handed a 10,000 ruble fine.
Deutsche Welle report. Germany hosts France, Britain for talks on Iran nuclear deal. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas held talks with his French and British counterparts in Berlin on Monday, with the partners urging Iran to stop breaching a nuclear deal it signed in 2015. From our view, Iran is systematically violating the agreement, a spokeswoman with the German Foreign Ministry said. Together with our European partners, we urge Iran to stop these violations and return to fulfilling all its nuclear obligations.
BBC report. COVID. Vaccination will be required to fly, says Qantas chief. The Australian flag carrier's boss, Alan Joyce, said the move would be a necessity when vaccines are available. I think that's going to be a common thing talking to my colleagues in other airlines around the globe, he said. Australia shut down its international borders early in the pandemic and required those returning to quarantine. The country has more recently relied on lockdowns, widespread testing and aggressive contact tracing to push daily infections nationwide close to zero.
CNN report. Biden won, but the election is still not over. Here are the key dates to watch. President Donald Trump's struggle to deny the results of the election is now up against an existential threat. A rapid succession of states due to certify their election results before the critical date of December 8. A version of this story appeared in CNN's What Matters newsletter. To get it in your inbox, sign up for free here. Certification is usually just a formality. But the process has taken on new importance this year as Trump's legal team has sought to delay the finalization of results, a strategy aimed at denying Joe Biden his due victory in the Electoral College, which votes December 14.
Fox report. New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern calls Biden, offers nation's coronavirus handling expertise. Wellington, New Zealand. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on Monday became the latest world leader to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden on his election victory, saying she offered to share her nation's expertise on dealing with the coronavirus. Ardern said the tone of the 20-minute phone call was warm and that Biden spoke very favorably about how New Zealand was handling the pandemic.
Al Jazeera report. Mozambique, Tanzania join forces to tackle Cabo Delgado violence. Mozambique and Tanzania have signed a memorandum of understanding to join efforts in the battle against an escalating armed campaign by ISIL-linked fighters in Cabo Delgado, Mozambique's northernmost province. The agreement, sealed by the two countries' police forces during the weekend, includes the extradition of 516 fighters from Tanzania to its southern neighbor, Mozambique's state-owned newspaper Noticias reported on Monday.
Al Jazeera report. Guatemala suspends budget ratification after attack on Congress. Guatemala has suspended the final ratification process for the 2021 budget after its approval by lawmakers sparked violent protests at the weekend and attacks on the legislature, the president of the Congress of Guatemala, Alan Rodriguez, has said. Congressional leaders met on Sunday to discuss the budget, which foresaw cuts to spending on health, education and human rights, and an increase in public debt.
CNN report. They messed with the wrong generation. How young people shook up politics in Peru. A political giant is stirring in Peru, and it isn't the new president. After a raucous 2 weeks of power plays at the highest levels of government that saw 3 different men pass through Peru's presidency, thousands of young Peruvians have reinvigorated protest and politics. With the hashtag they messed with the wrong generation, they're warning officials in a system plagued by corruption that business as usual will no longer be tolerated.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. Recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.